همیشه یه ارتباط ارگانیک وجود داره بین جنبش‌های اجتماعی و نحوهی که این جنبش‌ها در روزنامه‌ها، مجله‌ها و تلویزیون نشون داده میشه. شروع جنبش سبز یه پدیده خیلی جالب و استثنایی و برای اولین بار رو مورد توجه جهانیان قرار داد و اون پدیده شهروند روزنامه‌نگار، یعنی شهروندای ایران، کسانی که در این تظاهرات شرکت می‌کردن خودشون رو نمایندگی می‌کردن. ولی در این حال طبیعیه که روزنامه‌نگارای حرفه‌ای هم به جنبش سبز بسیار توجه داشتن. برای بحث در مورد این موضوع به خصوص ما خیلی خوشحالیم که امروز دوست عزیز من خانم گلنوش نیکنژاد دعوت ما رو پذیرفته که امروز با ما باشه. Golnoush, let's talk about this idea of citizen journalists. Okay. What does that exactly mean?
Citizen journalist basically means that every person can be a reporter. I mean, during the post-election crackdown, we saw that everybody has a cell phone. Almost everybody has a cell phone in Iran, and it's equipped with a video system. So by capturing what happened and putting it on the internet, I mean, they performed a very important role in telling the whole world what was happening in Iran.
Let me talk a little bit about the relationship between citizen journalists and a professional journalist like you, specifically about the case of the Green Movement. How does it exactly work? As you know, there is a huge burden of responsibility because after all, you live in Boston, the movement is inside Iran. How do you calibrate between not becoming sensationalist journalists and yet reporting the fact that there is a social uprising on the ground? How do you measure that?
Well, I only work with people that I know, and I haven't actually exactly embraced citizen journalism completely. I mean, citizen journalism is great when something is happening. You can do a wonderful job of reporting back from the streets, probably better than any reporter in most cases. But when the story goes underground, when it's no longer on the street, then you need professional journalists who know how to dig up a story or know how to frame a story. And that's when it becomes very complicated.
Let me ask you something about representation. As you know, one of the criticism that has come the way of the Green Movement is that the Western media, quote unquote, is paying extraordinary attention to it, and this is really a fabrication of the Western media. But the fact is that the most important representations of this media is actually by Iranians themselves. You are a professional journalist, graduate from Columbia School of Journalism. Single-handedly, you created this Tehran Bureau. And Tehran Bureau is the single most important source of information and representation. What do you think of this notion of Western media as a category?
Well, a large part of my success has been to the Western media embracing Tehran Bureau. I mean, they were incredibly interested and helped promote what we were doing. But I mean, generally the mainstream media, by its very definition, cannot be very interested in one single topic. And it doesn't have an appetite for one thing. It wants everything. One day your news and Michael Jackson dies, and that becomes much more important than the struggle of, millions of people, and so on. So that was actually one of the most important reasons. That was a catalyst for why I started Tehran Bureau, because I think that the Iranian story is so complicated, so complex, and it should be told by mostly Iranian journalists or those who specialize in it. But even the notion of the Western media is changing. I think in the past you could have a super correspondent take off from a major newspaper, go to the Middle East, roam Africa, all of North Africa, not speak a word of Arabic or Farsi, report it for the most important newspaper or magazine, and have the rest of the news organization follow its lead. That's no longer the case. I mean, travel is not so exotic, access is not exotic, and social media, not only, some people make the mistake of thinking that being on the internet is we're doing all the reporting on the internet. No. using social media to put us in touch with more people, more authentic voices. So if anything, someone like me from Boston has been able to penetrate more deeply penetrate Iranian society than, you know, if I had to rely only on being able to go to Iran to do the reporting. And I think Iran is a particularly difficult example because of the restrictions that exist. That, you know,
let's talk about Iranian professional journalists, your counterparts in Iran. As you know, Islamic Republic has a monopoly over all the resources, all the media. And professional Iranian journalists who don't agree with them either in jail or silenced or forced into exile. On the other hand, websites such as yours, which is very important for informing the outside world, is in English. What do you think is the impact of those incarcerations on reporting the events in Iran?
You know, I think they are their own worst enemy. I think in the past they were able to, like, you know, when the exiles, when people left after the revolution, they became irrelevant. Now they don't. I mean, if anything, once they leave Iran, they have a greater platform. And, you know, by throwing people in prison, I mean, everyone's watching. So it's made it, I think it's made it more difficult for them to get away with what they're doing. And if anything, they are forcing their best resources, you know, out of the country. And, you know, maybe they could only say A, B, and C when they were in Iran. Now they can, you know, say A through Z, if not more. So all these things were probably like pretty obvious long before the election. And that's why, you know, I created Tehran Bureau, and those problems came to the fore during the election. And you know, it's very, actually the nice thing is it's a very easy model to emulate, but what's difficult about it is that you really do need professional journalists who can go beyond reporting what's happening on the street, because it's not happening on the street anymore.
گلنوش جان خیلی ممنون عزیزم که در
مرسی حمید جان.
طبق آخرین آمار روزنامه‌نگاران بدون مرز در عرض یک سال گذشته دست کم 170 روزنامه‌نگار و وبنگار از جمله 32 زن روزنامه‌نگار در جمهوری اسلامی بازداشت شدند. در همین مدت 22 تن از اونها به 135 سال زندان محکوم شدند و 85 تن در انتظار دادگاه و یا حکم زندان خود به سر میبرند، در حالی که 37 تن دیگه همکنون در زندان به سر میبرند. در همین مدت حداقل 100 تن از این عزیزان و قهرمانان ملی مجبور به ترک کشور شدند. این آمار ننگی برای هر دولت و نشان افتخار ملتی آزادیخواه و اشتیاق آن برای آزادی بیانه. تا آزاد شدن همه روزنامه‌نگاران حرفه‌ای و تا احترام به اصل آزادی مطبوعات، مفهوم شهروند روزنامه‌نگار امانتدار موقت این رکن اساسی از ارکان آزادی‌های مدنی مردم ایرانه. من حمید دباشی هستم از نیویورک. تا هفته سبز دیگه، خدا نگهدار.